tired of just having coffee?
On today's news,
Tired of listening to the same talk shows? Is the newspaper the same old drivel? Well, check out Transformer 3 Listening Pleasure, the podcast. Held weekly on Thursdays, 9 p.m. Central, live on YouTube. Also, you can download it weekly via tftalk.net. Something great to listen to, just to start your day. Welcome back to yet another Plasticon review. Today we're going to dip into a little more Diaclone. Yes, 70s and 80s style. Once again, we are bringing out the heavy artillery now. The creme de la creme. One of the coolest and most awesome toys out of the entire Diaclone line. The Dai Attacker. And here it is, the Dai Attacker. This thing is insane. It is probably one of the coolest items that you can ever get for Diaclone. It's very rare and very hard to acquire. It's one of the ones that I've seen out there that there have a couple high quality KO versions of this thing out there, but they are just have slight differences, little bitty differences compared to this one. This one is awesome. This thing is completely sweet. It can hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 of your little Diaclone guys on one vehicle. 9 guys for one vehicle. This thing's insane. It's got this crazy tank mode, which is so cool. And it can actually fly, because it's a flying tank mode. But that's not all it does. It's got firing missiles that come out of here, on the tips here, which will actually have 2 little pods here as well. It does come with these pods, which is kind of neat. Sadly, one of these won't stay in as well. But let's take a look at the little pod. The little pod basically plugs in just like any little missile. It's very cool. It does hold a little Diaclone driver in there, and it's very neat. It does not have rolling wheels. So sadly, you got to use your imagination there. But it is a neat little scout ship. And they fire out fairly decently. Kind of. The spring wasn't so weak anymore. But it does release, and they do pop out fairly nice. Digging into the actual detail of this entire vessel, it's just littered with sticker decals and such. Yeah, I know the decals are probably not the best on this one, but it's still very, very, very cool. It's got a lot of chromey decals and a lot of this awesome same color blue that was on the King Dam that you guys saw that I did a review of. It's a nice, really, really glittery blue for most that do not know. This entire center portion is die cast. Lots of die cast. This thing is very heavy. It's very cool though. It does have a little shuttle portion here that you just simply slide off the back. It just pegs on with this little slot, and it slots in right here. Yes, I know, major chrome wire, but what do you expect? This thing here was designed and brought out about the mid-70s on. So a lot of these have been lost through time. But let's take a look at the smaller shuttlecraft first. Taking a look at the smaller shuttlecraft, it has a nice little glitter to it. You guys can tell it's got a little bit of a swirl going on in there, which a lot of you guys were afraid of that for the gold plastic. Well, the blue plastic really didn't suffer that well. Also has some nice little chrome engines here on the back, and these right here are for firing little missiles out. So it does happen to have a little bit of a gimmick going on there. It's got a very nice detail to it, and it literally looks like something that came out of the Jetsons, which is really, really neat. I do like the detail in this thing. This thing is just littered with detail. I mean, look at how many panel lines this has. Just for a simple little shuttlecraft that just plugs onto the back of this great, enormous ship. But anyhow, let's take a little closer look at the ship itself. Taking a closer look at the ship, you can obviously tell there's something going on down here at the bottom. Well, that is for another mode, but there is a shuttlecraft plugged in under here. It does happen to come with two of these, which look like fists. Yes, it's supposed to come with a second one of those. Sadly, I do not have it because it's very difficult to find these fists, but it's very neat. This thing is extremely heavy. It's got a lot of detail. I mean, check out the detail that's just in the panels here alone. The engines have decent detail as well. It does have a lot of chrome wear going on here, sadly, but it is very neat, and it's very heavy, and it's very well took care of for as old as this thing really is. As you can tell by the light, you can see how many panels are actually in those wings. There's a lot of detail going on here. A lot of molded work going throughout the entire thing. Like even in here, even small little bitty teeny tiny pieces of detail all the way through this thing. It's almost like a jeweler made this thing because of how much detail is built into this entire item. It's really neat that you actually have room here to put a Diaclone driver there. These are magnet plates, so that way you can stand up drivers here and here when it's in this mode. You can technically put drivers in these two here at the bottom sitting down, but it's very difficult to get one to actually work in the fist portion. So if you want to, you can swap it out with one of these little guys and then it'll work just fine. Anyhow, let's go into its transformation, because this thing is huge and awesome, and the under detail is not that bad. It has die cast wheels. Oh yeah. So let's get on to transforming. There he is, the Dai Attacker in his full-on robot mode. This thing is just freaking cool. It's so large, it's just not even funny. This thing is ginormous. You can obviously tell it's almost as big as the Battle Convoy trailers. It is very, very cool. It has a lot of detail, and the colors are just spot on of what Diaclones should be. It should have crazy colors just everywhere and just look so retro. Anyhow, let's take a closer look at this monstrosity of awesome. As you guys can tell, there's a lot of molded detail throughout this entire robot. The design behind this thing is just insane. It does happen to have a really, really, really nice looking torso portion and chest. Although sadly I don't have the second fist. I mean, it still does fire, and it fires these fists very good. But moving on from that, this thing actually only has this point of articulation. You can call this articulation if you want, but that's about all you're going to get. The head sculpt is just beautiful. I mean, check out that head sculpt. It is really, really, really well done. Now, I do know there is a KO out there. The KO happens to have little horns that stick up on top. And it's basically because they removed the screw, and then there was a portion between here that they actually fiddled out and made it so that way it had horns. So there is a different variant of this thing out there that is a knockoff. Sadly, if I actually had the missiles would fire out of the toes as well. It would have 4 missiles that would fire out of those. But it's a very awesome piece. Onto my recommendations, I highly suggest you guys go out there and check out a Dai Attacker. These things are one of the coolest things you can possibly get on your shelf. Although the thing is completely littered with die cast, including in the forearms and the full-on torso. It really might be a brick, but it's a very intimidating looking brick. It has a lot of molded detail and just looks so beautiful. There's not very many people out there that really appreciate the older retro style stuff, but this thing is just absolutely awesome. But anyhow, this has been my look at the Dai Attacker. You guys stay tuned because I will end up having some more Diaclone coming your guys' way. Anyhow, this has been Plasticon, and this is me signing off. Peace out, you guys.